Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Boxing Along the Beltway, our Beltway boxing news and notes for this week. And today we're going to have some good amount of news today, some breaking news as we come down the pike, some updates on some cards in the area, not in the area, but we have a couple of that may be in the area. They'll be in the area. Hopefully one big won't be in the area very soon, next month, and we'll talk more about that. And also we have a very sad tribute that I have to give out. And this is also breaking news as well, because we just found out about this as we record this just a few moments ago. And I'm put on my wrestling hat once again and give probably the saddest tribute I've given to date, because it concerns my indeed all-time favorite wrestler. So we'll talk more about that. Beltway Boxing News and Notes brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain to muscle strain and everything between, Boxing Along the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. You go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com, where you get 20% off your first purchase on the website, including that beautiful boxing pendant. You can get it at Deborah, that's Debra Spears.com. Well, of course, the news coming up this coming week, we have a big week, as a matter of fact, with a couple of major bouts for some Beltway boxers, including the one that takes place as we record this on Thursday, April 19th. That'll be at the Coliseo de Puerto Rico in San Juan, where Lamont Roach Jr. will be in probably the most important bout of his young career. He'll take on former world title challenger Orlando El Fenómeno Cruz of San Juan. And about we televised live on ESPN2. I believe the time is going to be either 9 or 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Not exactly sure. I think it's 10 o'clock Eastern time. And once again, for Roach, this is his second straight bout on national television, coming off that 10-round unanimous decision over Ray Perez on November 30th at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Roach Jr. 16-0, 6 KOs. Cruz is 25-6-1, 13 KOs, former world title contender. And he competed for the featherweight and lightweight world titles against the likes of Orlando Salido and Terry Flanagan. He's trying to break a 2-bout losing streak. So I had a chance to see a little bit of the press conference between the two. Roach is in enemy territory, and that's going to be very interesting to see how he handles it. This is kind of a new thing for him, being against a guy that is from Puerto Rico and will have the home fans behind him. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. So that's a 10-round bout. I believe it's for some semblance of a title, but I don't know exactly which one it is. They haven't announced that, but they were talking about it being for a title during that press conference we saw on Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. But once again, that's Lamont Roach Jr. taking on Orlando Cruz. That'll be Thursday night, April 19th, tomorrow as we record this, from the Coliseum de Puerto Rico in San Juan, and it'll be televised live on ESPN2. Now, before we get into the rest of the week, we've got to go back to a big win for one of our Beltway boxers in Norfolk, Virginia on Saturday, April 14th, and that is Alexandru the Spartan Marine out of Rockville, Maryland. He won the vacant IBO Intercontinental Super Flyweight title, a crushing second-round knockout of Michael Ruiz Jr. of Fresno, California, at the Masonic Temple, Norfolk, Virginia. That was the Ponytail Motions card. And Marine was the aggressor throughout the contest. I had a chance to see it. A couple of fans put it out on Facebook, so I had a chance to see this. And he backed up Ruiz, landing quality shots to the head and the body. And finally, in the second round, Marine sent a double left hook, 2 left hooks that sent Ruiz to the canvas, and Ruiz could not beat the count. Bout was stopped at 44 seconds of the second round. Folks, Alexandru Spartan Marine is for real. A lot of people don't know about him. A lot of people have not heard about him, haven't seen him, but I've seen enough of his bouts to understand that this guy is for real. And he's now the IBO Intercontinental Super Flyweight title, which means he is now the mandatory challenger for the World Super Flyweight title, as recognized by the IBO. The champion is Gideon Buthelezi of South Africa. Marine is 16-0, 11 KOs, and I'm telling you, folks, this kid can fight. And I had a chance to see him early, and he's being trained by Bruce Babashian. Also in his corner is the former 3-time world champion William Joppy. And so he's got great people behind him. He's very talented. And so he's going to be a good one. So we're looking forward to really great things from Alexander Spartan-Marine. He got some looks at among the prospects of the year last year, and this kid could go all the way, no question about it. So congratulations to Alexander Spartan-Marine, who is now the IBO Intercontinental Super Flyweight Champion. Now, coming up this week, a lot of things are going on, and some things have changed over the past as we get ready for this Saturday. Because, of course, we have the Roach bout on Thursday, but on April 21st, there'll be, well, let's put it this way. Right now, we have three Beltway boxers in one location in Brooklyn, and then another one might be in a second location in Brooklyn, both on Saturday, April 21st. Let's talk about the one at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And of course, one of the bouts there, that's the bout between Gervonta Tank Davis out of Baltimore, Maryland, 19-0, 18 KOs, former IBF Super Featherweight champion. He's going after the WBA Super Featherweight Championship, the vacant championship, as he faces former WBA Featherweight champion Jesus Cuellar of Buenos Aires, Argentina. And that's one of the three bouts that'll be on Showtime coming up on Saturday, April 21st. There's an interesting situation with this bout because, well, not necessarily the bout per se, although I think the bout's going to be a good one. But as I said last week during the podcast, Gervonta Davis has moved his camp to West Palm Beach, Florida. He's training with Adrian Broner. Now, I don't know if you've heard this, but Adrian Broner just gets involved in some crazy stuff. And it boggles my mind how someone as talented as he is, 4-division world champion, gets into this crazy stuff. He's gotten into a beef with some rapper, and they canceled the media workouts that were scheduled for earlier this week because he and this guy got into a beef, and the beef got violent, so to speak, online. And Broner doesn't understand. Now, I'm sorry to go on this tangent, but Broner doesn't understand that what he does, especially as he being the main event fighter on this card against Jesse Vargas, affects everybody else on this card. And it's just bizarre how he does this. And he and Gervonta Davis are working out, and sometimes I just get afraid that Davis, without the backing of his regular people, will get caught up in that mess. That's the problem I'm having with it. I'll be straight out. That's the problem I'm having with it. And they're talking about the connection between the two, which is good. But if Broner's going to do all this garbage behind it, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. So I just pray that it doesn't get any uglier than it already is right now. But be that as it may, Gervonta Davis will go after the vacant WBA Super Featherweight Championship, and he will take on Jesus Cuellar. That's going to be a good one. Cuellar, by the way, is 28-2, 21 KOs, and that'll be coming up as part of the triple header. Jamal Charlo goes up against Hugo Centeno Jr. On the card as well, on the televised card as well, and also Broner Vargas. I believe that card begins at 10 o'clock. No, I believe it begins at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Showtime. Now, 3 other boxers are scheduled to be on this card, but I think one of them will not. I think he just got taken off the card recently. But here's the 2 that are definitely going to be on the card. Well, let me say this. Technically, there are actually 3 Beltway boxers on the card. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. But there's scheduled to be a 5th one, I guess you could say, because of he will not be on the card. But let's unclog the confusion right now, okay? We do know that Capitol Heights, Maryland super lightweight Antoine Russell will be on the card, and he'll be in a 6-round contest against Andrew Rogers of Elkhart, Indiana. Russell is 4-0, 4 KOs, coming off that second-round TKO over Keyshawn Freeman on March 3rd at the Barclays Center. And Rogers is 4-2-1, 2 KOs, 1 no contest. He's winless in his last 4 bouts, however, and that includes a 6-round unanimous decision loss to Josue Vargas on June 20th in Las Vegas. Now, here's where the slight confusion comes in. DC welterweight Shingaskan Tazabai will be on the card. Now, he'll battle a veteran by the name of Justin the Voodoo Savi. Now, Savi is a native of Cotonou, Benin, but according to the BoxRec, information, he now lives in Silver Spring, Maryland. I've never heard of the man. I've never seen the man. He's never fought in the Beltway. The Beltway is scheduled for 4 rounds. Now, Tazabai last fought on August 12th. He won a 4-round unanimous decision over Robert Hill at the Howard Theater in D.C. And his record now 5-0, 2 KOs. Savi is 31, 15, and 2 with 21 KOs, but he's lost 3 of his last 4 contests, including an 8-round unanimous decision loss to Jonathan Navarro on April 12th in Indio, California. Now, Tazabai will be the 3rd straight undefeated boxer that Savi has faced, most recently in his career. So we'll see what happens. But again, Savi is another one of those guys, apparently from the African continent, who have come to D.C., the D.C. area, he and Samuel Amwako and a couple others, but I don't know who handles them. I don't know I don't know, who they are. And up until recently, I've never really seen them. Like Amwako, I had never seen until he fought a couple times at the D.C. Armory in 2016. But, never knew him before. So we'll see what happens. Now, the person that was scheduled to be on this card originally, apparently he's not on this card. And that's the chosen one, Emmanuel Alim out of Richmond, Virginia. He was slated to be in a 10-round bout against Daniel Tocado Echeverria of Durango, Mexico. But apparently he is no longer on the card. So that's what's happening there. That's at April 21st at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. So we do have 4 Beltway boxers scheduled to be on that card. Meanwhile, over at the King's Theater in Brooklyn, New York, this is by the way, the card at the Barclays Center is the Lou DiBella card, entertainment card. This card at the King's Theater in Brooklyn, it will be a Real Deal Sports and Entertainment card, and that is Evander Holyfield's. That's Evander Holyfield's promotion, and just added to the show is a guy who just fought back on April 13th, last Friday, and that's Luther Lights Out Smith. Smith out of Bowie, Maryland. He's now 10-2 with 9 KOs, 10-2, 9 KOs, and he just beat Elvin Sanchez by 2nd round TKO at the Sands Bethlehem Event Center in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, back on April 13th. But he'll be in the ring against Kennedy Katende, and he's originally from Uganda. From Rubaga, Uganda, but now fights out of New York City. He's 3-0, 1 KO. Contende scored a 6-round unanimous decision win over Libomir Pinchuk and that was on January 26th at the Sugar House Casino in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And so we'll see what happens. That's a late addition to that card. And that'll be at the King's Theater in Brooklyn, New York on Saturday, April 21st. So a number of Beltway boxers will be in Brooklyn this weekend. So we'll see what happens there. Also on April 21st, we've got Jamal Dyer scheduled to be on the card. He's the second-year pro out of Baltimore, Maryland. He's 4-1, 2 KOs. He's going to be in the card. He's scheduled to be on the card at the Arena in Paramus, New Jersey. However, and that's a 4-round bout, but no word yet on who his opponent's going to be. And Dyer is looking to bounce back off that 4th-round TKO loss to Vanderlei Miranda. That was on February 24th at the Showboat Hotel in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So we wish him well. Hope he gets on that card and does well. So that's the update for this week. Now, there are a couple of bouts coming in the near future that I want you to be aware of. A couple of cards, actually, that I want you to be aware of. First of all, there's going to be and we'll talk more about this as we get closer to it, but the Junior Olympics will be coming to the area Junior Olympics will be coming to Rosecroft Raceway on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, May 11th, 12th, and 13th. And that'll be held at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. So we'll tell you more about that. Also, Baltimore Boxing has a amateur show on Friday, May 11th as well. We'll give you more details on that. But meanwhile, a number of Beltway boxers will be heading to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on Friday, May 11th. Now, there'll be 2 locals that'll be on a nationally televised, one of them will be on a nationally televised showbox card. Let me rephrase that. 2 will be on the card. One of the bouts we know will be televised. And that'll be a card at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They're all going to be in Philly. Both of these cards will be in Philadelphia. on the same day. Co-feature bout, Baltimore, Maryland super bantamweight Glenn DeZern Jr. He'll compete in his first scheduled 10-round bout when he takes on Joshua Don't Blink Greer of Chicago, Illinois. Now, DeZern is 9-1-1, 6 KOs. Looks to bounce back from his first pro loss. That was an 8-round unanimous decision against Jesse Angel Hernandez on November 11th in Uniondale, New York. DeZern probably did not get off to a great start in that bout. He was really kind of sluggish early on, and the last two bouts he had on television, this will be his third television bout. The first two bouts, he got off to a fast start, kind of slowed down in the middle and picked it up at the end. This one, he started slow. He kind of stayed slow in that one. So it was a tough loss against Hernandez. Greer, meanwhile, is 16-1-1, 8 KOs. He's been on Showbox a few times. He's riding a 13-bout winning streak after suffering his only pro loss a couple years ago. This includes a third-round KO over Basilio Nieves on February 24th in Phoenix, Arizona. So that should be a good bout. Greer's a good boxer. He likes to try to live up to that dope blink moniker that he has, so we'll see. And Glenn DeZern, a solid boxer in his own right, a really fan-friendly boxer. That's what I like about Glenn. He is a fan-friendly boxer, no question about that. And I think the fact that he's been on TV now, this is his third time on TV, is proving that. Now, the two men, by the way, have a common opponent. Both men defeated Leroy Davila. DeZern defeated Davila by 8-round unanimous decision exactly almost 1 year ago to the day. It was April 14th of 2017. That was at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. And that bout was named the Beltway Boxing Bout of the Year. It was a great bout. No question about it. A really, really great contest between the two. And Greer had an easier time with Davila on July 14th in Miami, Oklahoma. He stopped Davila in the 5th round. Now, also scheduled to be on the undercard of this bout. And this bout, we don't know whether it'll be televised or not. We're not sure. It'll be Baltimore super flyweight Tyra Shea Lady Tiger Douglas. She'll be in a contest against Helen Iron Lady Joseph of New Haven, Connecticut. She's originally from Nigeria. Now, Douglas was 13-1, 6 KOs, multi-time world champion. She last fought on November 4th, scored an 8th round TKO over Crystal Hoy in Ashburn, Virginia. Meanwhile, Joseph, who's 15-3-1, 10 KOs. Let me say that again. 10 KOs. She scored 3 straight second-round knockouts in her last 3 contests. Why this bout would not be on TV is beyond me. This bout needs to be on television. There's no question about it. It needs to be on television. It should be a great one. Douglas, people are saying she's the most feared female boxer in the world right now. I don't know if I go that far, but I'm going to tell you, this bout should be a barn burner. And Douglas has been in a lot of barn burners in her short career. So this should be a great one. So Tyra Shea Lady Douglas, Tiger Douglas taking on Helen Joseph. No word how many rounds this is scheduled for. But we'll find that out hopefully not in the near future. So we'll see what happens. So that's the card at the 2300 Arena, the locals that'll be on that card. Meanwhile, over at the Sugar House Casino in Philly, there'll be a number 2 more Beltway boxers. One of them being the main event on the card, and that's Forestville, Maryland super lightweight Michael the Professor Fox. He'll be in an 8-round contest against Anthony Mercado out of Arecibo, Puerto Rico. Fox super lightweight, 16-0, 4 KOs, coming off an 8-round unanimous decision over Ricardo Garcia on February 13th at the Sands Bethlehem Event Center in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Mercado, who's 11-3, 10 KOs, broke a 3-bout losing streak by stopping previously undefeated Tyrone Crawley Jr. in the 3rd round on March 2nd at the Sugar House Casino. So this should be a good one. A guy who has some power, a guy who's fought relatively decent people, beat a good guy in Tyrone Crawley Jr. So that should be an interesting bout for Michael the Professor Fox there. No question about that. Also on that card, Owings Mills, Maryland heavyweight Kobe Madison. He'll make a quick return in a 6-round bout against Michael Polite Coffee out of Brooklyn, New York. Madison is 6-0-2 at 4 KOs. He looks to improve after battling Guillermo Del Rio into a 6-round majority draw. That was on April 6th at the 2300 Arena. Now, Madison, he admitted it. I saw it. I agree. He did not look very good in that bout. He was very sluggish, beating a guy who he had a more than 40-pound weight advantage over and really could not get the job done there. So he needs to have a good performance, and it could be interesting against Coffee. Coffee, I believe he hasn't fought him, but I know he's fought somebody recently in this area, and has done well. He's 2-0, 1 KOs. We said so. He's going to 6 rounds after only two pro bouts. That's interesting to see what happens there. So that should be a good one. So those are the bouts there in Philadelphia, May 11th, and wish everybody well. A couple boxes will be at the 2300 Arena. That's Glenda Zern and Tyra Shear Douglas, and Michael Fox and Kobe Madison will be at the Sugar House Casino in Philadelphia. Now, big news for this area. We finally got something going here. And we're going to have, I think, will be our first pro bout of 2018 in the Beltway. And that'll be on Saturday, May 19th. And that'll be Gary Russell Jr., WBC featherweight champion, Mr. Gary Russell Jr., Capitol Heights, Maryland. It is now a done deal from what I hear. It's a done deal that he will take on his number one contender, undefeated Joseph Jojo Diaz Jr. of Downey, California. We talked about this last week. It was verbal agreement, but now it is a done deal. It'll be May 19th, and it will be at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. So that's great to hear. As you said, Russell's 28-1, 70, and it'll be televised by Showtime, by the way. In fact, it's a doubleheader. It's a 2-site doubleheader. Donna Stevenson's bout, I forget who it's against right now, but Donna Stevenson's bout will also be on the show, but it'll be in 2 separate locations. Very similar to what happened when Gary Russell Jr. defended the title almost a year to the day that he's going to defend this time on May 20th last year when he beat Oscar Escondón. That was the same night, of course, Gervonta Davis defeated Liam Walsh in London. I believe Adonis Stevenson will be fighting in Canada, where he is out of, and it'll be one of those twin sites again. So once again, Russell 28-1, 17 KOs, has not fought since the Escondón fight, and Diaz is 26-0, 14 KOs. He's fought 16 times since Russell suffered his only loss in 2014, and Russell's only fought 4 times. So it'll be an interesting bout, no question about that. So that is Saturday, May 19th from the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Now, a couple of Beltway boxers got some very nice tributes recently over the last couple of days. Of course, on Tuesday, April 17th, the unified 154-pound champion Swift Jared Hurd out of Ackeek, Maryland, was lauded by the Prince George's County Council, and he got a special proclamation during a ceremony at the county administration building in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Great crowd on hand for him. A lot of his family members, some friends came. It's a shame no other boxers came. It's a shame. It's a shame. Just ridiculous that no other pro boxers came to support Jared Hurd. You know, arguably the best boxer in the area right now. 2-time Beltway Boxer of the Year. Did something fantastic in boxing that very few have done in our area. And he got no love from his boxing brethren. And that to me is ridiculous. I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous. But that's another story. But a lot of his friends, a lot of his fans, some other trainers were there. It was great to see. And as Mel Franklin, the councilman, I really have to thank him. I told you the story last week of how this all came about. And I did have a little bit of a hand in it, along with Ernest Catalyst. And I got a chance to meet Mel Franklin. He thanked me for bringing it to his attention. I really do appreciate that. But Mel Franklin had the great line in this ceremony. He said, "Seat Pleasant has Kevin Durant, and Ackeek has Swift Jared Hurd." And that was the line. I mean, I started every article I've written about him for the blog Boxing on the Beltway. I wrote an article for Fight News, and I wrote an article for the Washington Forum about this. And I've started with that quote because that quote is fantastic. I loved it. But it was a great ceremony. I look at Gervonta Davis, I look at Jared Hurd, and it's just two completely opposite sides. I mean, Hurd has so much support. Of course, both his parents, Fred and Brenda Hurd, outstanding people. But again, the ceremony showed so much support for Jarrett. And one thing I've noticed about Jarrett Hurd, as long as I've been following him, a lot of people know who he is. I mean, when I say that, they know him personally. It's not so much they may not know a lot about his boxing ability. They may not know a lot about his boxing success, although I think more people now know about it more than anything else. But, I'd meet people on the street, and when I tell them I'm in boxing, and the first thing they ask me is, do you know Jarrett Hurd? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's like a lot of people know who he is. A lot of people that I know personally know who he is. And that's just great. He has a great support system, fantastic support system. And a lot of it showed up on Tuesday when they had the ceremony. It was a great moment. It really was. I was privileged to be there, and it was a great moment for him. He was, taking it all in. He was very humble about it, posing with everybody's picture. And it's something that Davis does not have yet. And I'm afraid that something will happen to him if he doesn't have it. I mean, he has support of Kenny Ellis and Calvin Ford. That's fine. And I know there are people people who support him, but I'm not sure if these folks will support him when the chips are down. And, a lot of folks are, in the boxing media turning against him because of the issues he's had. The issues he was exonerated for. And I'm just praying that they won't turn away from him if the chips are down for him. I don't see that happening with Jarrett Hurd, no matter what happens. I think they'll always be there. They're good people surrounding him. I mean, a lot of family, a lot of friends, and a lot of folks who really are looking out for his well-being. I see that happening. So I wish him well. And again, I talked to him a little bit about, whether or not he'll take on Jamel Charlo, Kell Brooks in the mix, and he can call the shots. That's the main thing. Yeah. He is the best in the business as far as 154, my personal opinion. I think the fact that he holds 3 belts in that division kind of, and if you want to not make the IBO a legitimate division, that's up to governing by, that's up to you. He still holds 2 belts. Okay. So either way, he's a unified champion regardless. And, looking for great things continue happening for Jarrett Hurd in the future. Also receiving a proclamation this week, and she went back to her hometown, Fort Myers, Florida, to get this. This is the Dark Menace, Tierra Brown, and she returned to Fort Myers, Florida, as Monday, April 16th, 2018, was Tierra Brown Day in Fort Myers, Florida. She received the key to the city from the mayor of Fort Myers, Randy Henderson. And, of course, she was honored for her great work as an amateur boxer. She won a world championship, went to the Olympic trials twice. Also honored for her community service work that she started in Fort Myers. Now she's doing it here in the D.C. area. She is a police officer in D.C. She's been a pro boxer since 2016. She's 4-0, 2 KOs, and just great to see. She was just fabulous. She was humble as well, and she's someone. Tierra Brown is very easy to like. She's a great person. A fierce boxer, no question about that. And I'm hoping she gets more opportunities to box in the near future. But she's a great person and always has a beautiful smile on her face. And she's very humble. And as she continues to work both inside the ring as well as being a police officer, that's a tough job. No question about it. Tougher now maybe than ever before. But she seems to do well. And she actually is a friend of a guy that I know who is also a police officer. His name is Tariq Cephas. He was a former basketball player at Coppin State University, and they know each other. And I just pray for their safety as they continue to do their daily work in the police officers in the nation's capital. It's not an easy job, not an easy job anywhere, but it's really, I'm so proud of them. Great people. I'm proud of Tierra Brown. So congratulations to her as well. Now I go to my wrestling tribute. Just a few moments ago, I found out that my all-time favorite wrestler passed away today. There are very few athletes in any sports or sports entertainment, if you want to call it that I truly say that I admire. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is one. Elvin Hayes, who played for Houston and was won a championship with the Washington Bullets. They just celebrated that not too long ago here in this area, 40th anniversary. You know, I was a big fan of the Big E. I used to emulate both those guys on the basketball court. And really the only other athlete, and I would say he is an athlete, regardless of, you know, whether pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, whatever. I consider this man an athlete. The only other person that I truly say that I admired in sports was a man by the name of Bruno Sammartino. We just found out today that Bruno Sammartino passed away at the age of 82 today. Now, apparently he had health issues, but I tell you, every time I saw him up until 2017, really, he looked so healthy. He looked so strong. I didn't know he had any. I know he had a couple of, I think he had a bypass surgery, something like that, but you know, he always looked in great shape. I mean that literally. Bruno Sammartino's story, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. He was born in a small town in Italy, Pizza Ferrato, I think it's called. And he had to escape the Nazis in World War II with his family. And he was in a very bad situation there. And finally, when the war ended, eventually he was able to come to the United States. They settled in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where they lived his entire adult life up there in Pittsburgh. And he came to what was then known as Capital Wrestling Corporation. As I've said before, what we know today as the WWE started in Washington, D.C. With Toots Mondt and Jess McMahon on 14th Street Northwest, place called Turner's Arena. And that's where Capital Wrestling Corporation. And Bruno came there around 1960, 61. And when Capital Wrestling became the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and they broke away from the National Wrestling Alliance at that time, they needed a champion. And so on May 17th, 1963, Bruno Sammartino defeated Buddy Rogers, the original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers, in just 48 seconds to win the World Championship. He defended that title for 7.5 years against some of the greats of that time. And finally on January 12, 1971, Bruno, and he talks about this a lot. He talked about this a lot. Bruno was very tired. He'd been beaten up. He'd been traveling literally all over the world, wrestling every night, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. And he just was tired. So on January 12th, 1971, Bruno lost the title to Ivan Koloff at Madison Square Garden. By the way, he beat Buddy Rogers at Madison Square Garden too. And as I've said many times before, and I've talked about this incident, you can hear a pin drop in Madison Square Garden, 22,000 people. When Koloff came off the top rope with a knee drop and pinned Bruno. Bruno needed a break. He really did. But here's the importance of Bruno Sammartino in a nutshell. Without Bruno Sammartino, the WWE, as we know it today, would not exist. There are so many times where Sammartino saved Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. from bankruptcy and from folding the entire federation. That, again, without him, we wouldn't have the WWE, in my personal opinion. Now, I don't even think it's opinion. I think it's fact, to be perfectly honest with you. Here's what I mean by it. One of the fabled stories about Bruno Sammartino was when he got his neck broken And of course, they said it was at the hands of Stan Hansen's Larry. That is not exactly true, but it made for a great storyline. Well, around that time, they were going to have that boxer versus wrestler event between Muhammad Ali and Antonio Inoki. And the event itself was not drawing flies. It was horrible. I mean, the closed circuit wasn't there. The ticket sales were horrible. It was just not doing well at all. So Vince Sr. and Vince Jr., they begged Bruno, who was still recovering from the neck injury, to get back in the ring. And he faced Stan Hansen in a rematch. And that, along with Andre the Giant taking on Chuck Wepner, which I'm surprised, by the way, just an aside, I'm surprised they did not talk about that during Andre the Giant's documentary. And if you have not seen that HBO documentary, you need to see it. It was a great one. But they needed those two matches to drum up any kind of support for that card. That's how important Bruno Sammartino was. Now, I didn't really get into Bruno until his second title reign, which started in 1974 when he defeated Stan the Man Stasiak, who by the way got into the Legends category at the Hall of Fame this year. And that's when I really got into. I was into wrestling at that point, and Bruno was the first world champion I saw. And what I loved about Bruno was he always carried himself as an athlete. You know, he dressed the part. He didn't do the Ric Flair, didn't dress that flashy, but he was humble. He gave great interviews in the sense that he sounded like a pro athlete. And it was great to hear. It was great to see those. And of course, you know, he was the only pro wrestler that ever appeared on the episode of Greatest Sports Legends. Think about that for a second. You know, they had some great people over the years on that show. Joe DiMaggio and Joe Frazier. I don't know if Ali was on there, but Jim Brown and other great people. And there's Bruno Sammartino, the wrestler, right there in that mix. But he always carried himself off well. I mean, you could make debates, but he wasn't a scientific wrestler, and I don't care. I really don't care. He was that great of a wrestler, though. And I saw him many times at the Capitol Center against the likes of Ivan Koloff, against George the Animal Steele. And, of course, I was there. And I believe the date was June 9th, 1980. I'm not 100% sure that's the right date. But it was the first time that the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, sold out for professional wrestling. 20,000 strong, and I came so close to not getting a ticket that day. I never forget, my dad and I were driving to the Capitol Center, and it was a huge traffic jam getting to the Capitol Center at night. And I hadn't got my ticket yet. I just got one, you know, up in the cheap seats to see Bruno Sammartino take on Larry Zbyszko in a lumberjack match. Of course, that feud was one of the great feuds of all time. You know, Larry Zbyszko always credited Sammartino for helping him in his career. And when they had that feud between the two, it was brutal. It was set up beautifully. You know, Zbyszko bloodied Bruno with the chair. And then they met in Shea Stadium in New York in a steel cage match that drew 41,000 people on the same night as a Yankees game and a Giants exhibition game. They drew 41,000 people to Shea Stadium. Guys like Bruno don't come often. I've never met anybody that had the class that he had. Never seen anybody, I should say, because unfortunately, I never met Bruno, unfortunately. I've never seen anybody that had the class that he had. I'm so glad that Bruno and WWE made peace. Because, as much as Andre was fantastic, no question about it, two people should have been the first two people to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Andre the Giant and Bruno Sammartino. But the way Bruno felt about the WWE at that time, and this was mid late 80s or into the 90s, he hated it. He hated it. He saw where WWE had gotten very cartoonish, of course, which it had. This is primarily during the Hulk Hogan era, moving into the Attitude Era somewhat, but really it was really during the era of Hulk Hogan, because you had, everybody had to be a character. Yeah, they weren't just wrestlers; they were characters. The Junkyard Dog, the British Bulldogs, Coco Beware. Everybody had a gimmick. Everybody. They were all characters, and Bruno just did not like that. And many times he appeared on WCW, World Championship Wrestling, talking about how great their wrestling was because it was real wrestling, to him anyway, real wrestling, as opposed to no cartoons, everybody man on man, whatever. It was great. But Bruno saw a change in the way WWE did their business. And there's a legitimate change. And, with NXT, the way they are, it is legitimate. There's no question there's a change. And that's why Bruno finally came on board and accepted his place in the Hall of Fame. I'm so glad that happened. I really am so glad that happened, because, from my opinion, as good as the Hall of Fame was, it would have never been legit unless Bruno was there. And so I'm glad that happened. I really am glad that happened. But this is tough. This really is tough. He was a great guy. I mean, he was a great wrestler. Sold out Madison Square Garden more than 200 times. The week of that Sammartino Zbyszko bout at Cap Center, he was on TV locally. He was in the papers locally. That's how big he was. And I'm so glad that his story is being told now, because a lot of the younger fans need to know who he was. They need to know how great he was. They need to know how without him there would not be a WWE. You can talk about Hulk Hogan doing what he did, that's fine, but we wouldn't have gotten Hulk Hogan had it not been for Bruno Sammartino. You can talk about the Attitude Era and how it reshaped WWE. That's all fine and good. We wouldn't have gotten that point had it not been for Bruno Sammartino. So I'm going to miss him. I'm never going to stop talking about him because he was that great. He's my all-time favorite wrestler. As I said, he was Bruno, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Rick Steamboat, and Hulk Hogan. Those are my top 5. And Bruno, for me, stands head and shoulders above them all. And we're going to miss him. No question about that. So long live the living legend of professional wrestling, Bruno Sammartino. That'll do it here for another edition of Beltway Boxing News and Notes, which is once again brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief. You go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And brought to you by DeborahSpears.com. With your first purchase of jewelry from DeborahSpears.com, you get 20% off that first purchase. Go to Deborah, that's Debra Spears.com. If we get a chance, and we do may do a special report on Lamont Roach's bout coming up this week, so we'll see if we'll do that as well. But for now, I'm Gary Digit Williams. Thanks for joining me, everybody, and always remember to keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.